name is Makhathini. I'm an abstract realist painter and I come from Pietermaritzburg. What brought me to August House was that most of the artists that I was following would usually tag the space, so that's how I was introduced through other artists' works on Instagram and Facebook where they tagged August House, and I found out that it was an environment and a community, so I was really interested in going into that. Being at August House for me has brought me a lot of peace, because in a way you're just left alone to just do your work. So I usually work for long hours at times, and the fact that if I can get a distraction, that puts me back, because I need to get back into the process of making my pattern. So it takes a long time to get into that space where I can create. I don't prepare anything. I just layer the paint of orange and then I do the patterns. So my mind needs to be calm, no distractions. So that allows me to have more freedom in it. Because once I think or something comes in that's a distraction, the print itself, I start hesitating. When I get into the space, I really don't want to leave until I'm done with that section that I want to do. So August House gives me that freedom. In as much as it's a community of artists, but each one is just left to do work on their own. The reason why I describe myself as an abstract realist painter is that when I began my journey, I began as an artist in realism. So I found that realism is really constrained. Like, you need to get it as precise as you can. So it teaches you control and all that. And then when you get to abstract, that's where you have freedom to express. So then I found that I had difficulty in containing abstraction. So I wanted something similar to what I've had, which was in realism, some principles in that, and then I added it together. And it gave me a sense of freedom, but yet I knew that I had to follow, I had to be in certain parameters of that freedom so that I could assess my own growth in it. Yeah. I started my artistic journey in 2018. In the beginning, I considered myself a self-taught artist because I just drew from passion and love. And as I grew by learning principles from other people, like researching and watching documentaries, hearing old interviews of people explaining their artistic process. So that's when I viewed myself as someone who's being taught by my own craft, not that I'm self-taught. My craft is actually teaching me these principles that I'm just learning through other artists and how because I've taken elements from other artists and how they construct their works from beginning and adding it to mine and seeing that it grows. So I'm learning from the industry, yeah. So the work that I'm currently doing now evolved from a style called pointillism, but in its finer form, stippling. I took those principles and I added it to the patterns that I make. So all the patterns that you see, those are individual dots taken from the principle of stippling. And then when I went on to using different color sets, I found that layering the colors created an effect that I also learned from doing realism. When you add your tones, you can use a darker shade of orange and then you add another lighter shade of orange, so that you create that depth in the work. The work that I'm doing now does heavily take from also collage, because when you see the way that I paint, it's as if like it's cut out pieces, and so it was principles from collage that I added on to acrylic paints that gave it this look that is realist, but also it looks in a form like abstraction. Yeah. So it was just putting together all the things that I've learned throughout my journey, so that I'm here now, but you can see that it's been developed through a lot of things, because I didn't just do print patterns. I had to develop those patterns from stippling and then come this side. So I just added it all together. So the funny thing with stippling, I actually did it before I actually knew what it was. So when I went to Bed Center, process is similar to pointillism, but it differs in the detail aspects. In pointillism, you can see that it's dots, but with stippling, it tends to want to hide itself. It's not dots, it looks like pores, skin pores. The finer the point of your pen, it will give that sense of like it's skin. So stippling really wants to make itself disappear and bring forth the image, where in pointillism, the dots is what makes the image, but stippling, it really wants to show the image itself. The stippling process is what gives the patterns depth. It reverses the negative spaces. So when I add it, it actually creates the positive space. The characters and the themes that are in my work right now called Alone Together. This theme alludes to the times that we are in, where we have these devices that are a necessity in our lives. But in itself, that kind of alienates you from the surrounding that you're in. Within the red masks, there's people that are interconnected and networked. That's the technology that connects the singular person to multiple others. Our devices have become us, which is something that I really want to go into in my work. When I created the palette in my work, I wanted to have a juxtaposition. The images and the faces that you see have a stoic face, but yet when you look at the color palette, it's vibrant and energetic, like that interplay that you should be suspect of this thing. I mean, technology, we should be suspect of it. The color palette that I put on the faces, which is orange, associated with creativity, vibrance, but yet when you see the faces, they don't reflect that. They have this sense of awareness that there's something that's around us we should be considering as a threat. And then with the patterns, because each pattern is unique to that individual face. So I wanted to give a sense of it. It's an individual experience, that's one. So with this pattern is that we are individually creating this network. Each person has their own experience of it and a role in it.